Welcome everybody to AI Horizons, the May edition. So we have a fantastic agenda for you all today. We will be kicking things off with a great team from World Campus who will be presenting first. Their presentation is currently on screen called Control plus Create. After that, we have a few announcements. We'll be kicking announcements to the second half. We will be announcing a summer program and also having a spring reflection. So before we get into all that, we're going to kick it over to the World Campus team who's going to walk us through their fantastic presentation they have for us today. So without further ado, I will kick it over to, I don't know who's starting. Carmen, take it away.
I'm
Thank you so
starting.
much.
All right. So good morning. Next slide. We'll go ahead and Penny is driving for us this morning. Um, so we are the Fab Five instructional designers at Penn State World Campus, and we are very excited to be here this morning to talk about how our team collaborates around AI and how it has helped us keep up without burning out. We think we've landed on a format that fits. It works with our busy schedules, keeps momentum going, and so we wanted to share this with you. No one size fits all formula, but there's a couple of keys that have worked with us, so we're going to share those with you. Scheduling regular meetings, sticking with them, and really important is multi-purposing the time we spend together. During our weekly meetings, we discuss and explore current AI issues, tools, and trends. We troubleshoot course, coworker, and faculty AI questions. We host guest drop-ins, and we workshop AI issues together. Between meetings, we keep energy flowing in a dedicated team space. We won't show that today, but that's important as well. One of the things is at first the momentum we were making didn't really feel like it was adding up, but these small efforts add up and they turn into big wins, and the learning adds up fast, and you'll see that. So another thing is AI is part of all of our annual goals, and the time we've invested as a group has made a real difference in our daily work. We find that we can solve AI issues faster as a group than we do individually because we can build off of each other's knowledge, and we're able to multiply learning in ways that we couldn't do alone. And that's super important. That's another key. We also try to have fun with AI, and you'll see that. So like the Zoom backgrounds that we're using today, we do Zoom backgrounds sometimes for holidays, April Fools. Sometimes they turn out great, and sometimes we get a few laughs. Creepy fingers and extra appendages, like you'll see a little bit in some of today's images, are some of the things that you'll still see in AI generated images. So today, and oh, you'll see we asked ChatGPT, which is our nickname for ChatGPT, to generate our Zoom pictures. So that's what you see here. And I'm going to introduce us. So our team is fully remote, and we're spread across time zones. And so our backgrounds represent our home states. So Lisa Burns, she joins us from the far west, and she is in sunny Arizona. Linus Makis is the furthest south, and he's our Florida man. Kate Morgan, she holds it down on the East Coast in New Jersey. Penny Ralstonberg brings in Midwest, and she's in Iowa. And she's also our driver, slide master for today. And I'm Carmen Strand. I'm based right here in Pennsylvania. And we also have special guests to talk about the real world impacts of one of our projects. We're all instructional designers. You don't need to be one to do this. You just need a passion or a real need to learn about AI. Next slide, please. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about our mission, which includes our goals, how we work, some of the projects we've done, and the impact, including challenges and benefits, takeaways, lesson learns. We'll leave time for questions. We'll also demo a couple of the custom GPTs our team built. And I think at this point, if Lisa's awake yet, she's out in Arizona. It's still pretty early. I'm going to hand it off to Lisa.
Thank you, Carmen, very much. Thank you everybody for having us here today. I'm going to talk a little bit here on this slide about how our team got started. And as Carmen mentioned, we do some images on there. And the image that is on this particular slide was done very early on. And you might want to take a very close look at the one that's on the left or being helped up, and see where she has an extra appendage coming out. So our team came together with a shared mission to explore how AI could help our learning design team and be more effective and efficient. And we wanted to identify, first of all, the time-consuming tasks in our normal workload and figure out how to streamline those, not just to maintain productivity, but perhaps to increase it. Ultimately, we hope this would free up time for more of the creative work that we really love to do as instructional designers. What surprised us was that AI didn't help just with the tedious stuff. It really actually supported our creativity too. Now, for anyone playing the instructional designer buzzword bingo, yes, we started with low-hanging fruit. So back in the fall of 2023, none of us had any real experience with AI. We dove in by experimenting, playing with the prompts, and testing the limits of what tools like ChatGPT could do. One of our first exercises was we asked it to create an image of us based on a few personal descriptors. And that's when I just discovered just how wildly ChatGPT can hallucinate. In my case, I said I had short hair and the image came back as a male. But even in that fun moment, we learned something important, that prompt clarity matters. If we wanted better results, we had to be more intentional and descriptive. From there, we moved into our more practical territory, things that really eat up time in our day-to-day work as instructional designers. We asked ChatGPT to write learning objectives and create and generate rubrics. For me, that was a game changer because the program that I work on requires rubrics for every single assignment. So what used to take me hours now can be done in minutes. 10 rubrics in the time it used to write one. Yes, please. Simple prompts were a great way for us to start and for us to learn, but we soon realized that we could take ChatGPT further. And that's when we began building custom GPTs. AI tools fine-tuned to handle our reoccurring tasks with even greater accuracy and greater speed. Our workshop sessions were wildly chaotic. One person would share their screen and take the wheel while the rest of us enthusiastically and loudly and bluntly tossed out ideas, feedback, and encouragement. And together we built custom GPTs. We built custom GPTs for formatting and accessible tables, for removing the timestamps completely from transcripts, for developing course-specific case studies and scenarios, of which we may show later on, and writing alternative text for images. These are all things that we can actually do ourselves, but now we can do them faster with less mental fatigue. We weren't replacing our skills, we were supercharging them. Whoever was driving that day would share the custom GPT with the team so we could all benefit from it. We weren't just learning how to use AI, we were learning how to build with it together. So how did we actually make this work? Well, we started with 5 team members, each from different corner of the US, as already stated, all volunteering to dive into AI together. We weren't told to join this. We were asked if we wanted to, and we said, absolutely sure, we'll try it. Despite our geological distance and different ways we approach course design, something about this group just clicked. It felt like a safe space for us to work on day one. Every one of us brings a different, unique perspective, and every suggestion that anyone would ever blurt out was welcome without judgment. And for anyone who knows me, you know my thoughts tend to jump straight from my brain to my mouth. But I didn't have to hesitate to speak up. And that's how open and collaborative this space was. This group is truly magical. We made one very smart decision at the start. No homework. We were already committing to 1 hour a week for meetings. That's it. No homeworks, no prep, no pressure. The idea was that we would just show up, we'd learn, and we'd build together. And honestly, with the nonstop meetings and courses and deadlines we juggle, it really was a relief to be a part of a group where we didn't have to do things on the outside. Eventually, we did bump our meetings to 2 hours a week, and we gave ourselves an extra hour of research or playtime to actually dig into AI stuff on our own time. And honestly, the funniest part of all of this is if one of us has to miss the meeting because we're on vacation or we have an appointment or something, the group will record the meeting and we actually go back and watch the entire recording. That's how valuable the sessions have become, and we don't want to miss a single meeting or idea. So we got into a couple different tools. We began with the free version of ChatGPT. It was okay, but it made a lot of mistakes and the results were a little bit inconsistent. So eventually we made our case. We got approval for paid ChatGPT licenses, and that changed everything. So suddenly we were able to build custom GPTs, and that really was a game changer for us. Instead of rewriting prompts every time, we were able to create GPTs that could handle repetitive tasks with built-in instructions, which became to be a major time saver, as we'll hear from our guest speaker today. We also explored Microsoft Copilot since it was available through Penn State, and that really started to open up the door for us with image generation and other features. At first, it lacked the chat history, which really bothered me, but it has improved since then, and there is a chat history. Eventually, our team transferred over to the ChatGPT team version, and we were so impressed with the tool's value that even when we were supposed to give up our personal account, we decided to keep our paid personal account because we felt that this tool was that important. And yep, we were officially hooked. So what have we gained? What were our results of this journey? Well, through this journey, something unexpected happened. We didn't just build efficiencies, we built skills. We didn't just save time, we built confidence. And we didn't just follow trends, we developed critical thinking about AI and education. We started to bring ideas back to our team that would meet every week. How could AI help with course design? How could it make work more engaging or accessible? Was there a better tool for image generation, video generation, summarizing content, building interactive study aids? We began signing up for AI courses, attending webinars, showing up at every conference session that we went to that had AI in the title. Our curiosity just absolutely snowballed, and we were loving it. So a little bit of our reflections. As we reflect, we will share some key challenges and unexpected benefits we experienced during this journey that has been so enjoyable for all of us. First of all, AI tools change rapidly, and ChatGPT changes rapidly. It evolves at lightning speed. ChatGPT will update overnight, and sometimes even during the day as we work. In general, there's no warning when a change is coming or has occurred. And sometimes we feel like we just got in the hang of one version of where everything's located, and then another version appears. And we didn't know that it changed until we go in and we see that it has changed. So staying current is a moving target, and it's easy to feel like we're always trying to catch up. The other thing is that you have to read everything that AI gives you. AI is incredibly powerful, but it's not a substitute for human judgment. Integrating it effectively, thoughtful design, intentional use, and ethical considerations is important. AI doesn't replace us. I think of it as my assistant. It helps to support us. And we need to be careful that anything that we're producing from AI, we are reading carefully. So there are many tools, and some of them are so new that documentation on how to use them can be sparse, but best practices are still emerging, and institutional support is limited in some places, and in many ways we are charting new technology. Sometimes we feel like we're kind of building all of this about AI, essentially as the plane is flying, or perhaps more optimistically, we're assembling a boat while we're learning how to sail. So some unexpected benefits that we've had from being a part of this group. So of course, first one we'd have to say is time reallocation. We're not just saving time, we're able to shift it and use it, freeing us to focus on more creative, strategic, or human-centered tasks. Actually, working with AI has given us this renewed sense of excitement. Across the board, we noticed a genuine excitement about our work. We really have been more excited about what we are doing, all because of AI. AI has reignited our curiosity. It's prompted us to explore, to test, and to really ask new questions. And we have growing our skills. We are growing our skills without even realizing it. Many of us didn't notice how much we were learning, but over time, we found ourselves understanding AI better. We are understanding articles that are out there, spotting patterns, and confidently using terms that we once felt foreign to us. So conversations with others helped us to recognize how far we come. And as I said, truly, this group is magical. I've never been a part of a group where you could actually share freely and get so much out of it. And now I'll turn it over to, I don't know who's next.
Me.
Somebody wonderful.
Thanks, Lisa.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a few kind of when we started out with simple prompts, we quickly realized we could get better results with some custom GPTs. So that's why we kind of went in that direction. Our GPTs really focus on making life easier, but also enhancing course design. So when you're considering like maybe you want to do a custom GPT, when is the good time? You can consider when you have to perform simple repetitive tasks on many courses, like the transcript formatter that we mentioned before, that takes the transcript, strips the time code out of it, and puts it in a more usable form. It can help with communication, like the diplomatic designer tool that we developed, where you can kind of put your rough suggestion to faculty that you want to tell them about a course, and it translates it into a suggestion with softer language, more structured language. You can also think about creating specific piece based on existing content, like Lisa mentioned the rubric builder. I have assignment instructions, create a rubric for them. You can also get into more complex tasks like multi-part scenarios that are spread across the course, like the scenario crafter, or making accessible image descriptions, like with our image description specialist. And that's the one that we want to dive into for today. We'll use the image description specialist as our use case. And yeah, it all started when Lisa and I were meeting with Sonia about something completely different. And we Sonia mentioned that they were using another image description tool, but it really wasn't very good. And so Lisa and I just kind of lit up and said, "Oh, come to our group and we can build one for you." So come to our workshop and we'll figure it out. And so that's actually what happened. So our group worked with our WCLD accessibility team, Matt Farley and Sonia Woods, and they brought the idea in and helped us identify the rules that would be used. In our first meeting, we created a prototype, and then they took it and tested it on their own for a few weeks, and then came back for a second meeting with what their findings. We discussed them all as a group and improved the tool. So really this tool was created just in two 2-hour meetings, right? So it was very quick. And I can just mention some of the rules here. We want to keep the alt text to around 140 characters. We want it to have essential information without explicitly stating that it is describing an image, like leaving the extra language out, using grammar when it describes the image, avoiding interpretive or editorial content being added to the image, and avoiding mentioning colors in the image, because sometimes those aren't really explaining the meaning of the image. It's more a decorative choice or style choice. And so I can open it up for Sonia and Matt to talk about kind of what it was like from their side being our clients.
Okay, thanks, Penny. Yeah, as Penny said, I was hearing in accessibility circles about people using AI to describe images, which if you've ever described a complex image, you might have some sense that that's a very time-consuming task, and often it gets overlooked. Um, and so that's something Matt and I have spent a lot of time doing. Another university had provided a free AI tool for the purpose of image description, and we were thrilled. We tried that, and it was definitely a good starting point, but we found, yeah, Wade's calling it out. We found that that tool was putting in information, like Penny was saying, like where it was describing colors and shapes of things that weren't useful to the meaning. So we didn't want that in the description. So we're having to do a lot of editing. And if there was a lot of text in the image, it wouldn't always pull all the text out. And we thought, is there a better way? Like, could we have access to a custom chat GPT that would give us better results? So that's when we met with Penny and with this team. So we did some homework in providing the rules that we wanted the tool to follow. And then Penny just built the tool right there in the meeting, and we brought some images to test it on. And then we noticed what happened with that, what we liked, what we didn't like. And so Penny just kept adding, like tweaking it in that meeting. And I have to say, I was really surprised because I'd known many people, some other people even at Penn State had done the same thing. And I really didn't expect we would get as good results as we did, where there was very little editing needed on the final result. But then we spent a couple weeks, as Penny said, we used it in our work and we tested it and made note of things we liked and things we didn't like. And came back and then retested it. And then Matt used it in a pilot. We had a course that had hundreds of, I don't know how many, Matt, how many images were in that
think
course?
it was
Was it date?
between 300 to 400.
Okay, and so yeah, data and visualization images. So then we sort of piloted it in that program. So what was that like for you, Matt, in terms of time saving?
It was interesting. I think for someone like me who does this all the time, I did a comparison where I would pick a few and try to manually describe them myself and then use the tool. In some cases, it would only save me a minute or two, but it gave me a lot of ideas that I may not have thought of, and especially when they're really complex diagrams, it gives you a really good starting point to figure out how you may approach that. Especially if you're not really experienced in this, it will give you some thoughts about where to start and sort of how to drill down into the details. And I think the really big benefit was I partnered with one of our other IDs, Brian Hyatt, on this, who is not someone who describes images all the time. And it saved him a lot more time. And the added benefit was because there's two people writing image descriptions for the course, by us both using this tool, it gave us sort of a similar voice so that, if my writing style is wildly different from Brian's, this gives students more of a consistent experience because all of the image descriptions sort of were filtered through the AI first, so they have more of a similar sounding voice and structure to them. So we really identified that as one of the key benefits, especially if you're working with more than one person on a project like that.
I also just wanted to add to in terms of the use case, when we were building this tool, it was all 7 of us together in the workshop, being very chaotic and very, I would say very chaotic, but also very productive. Um, I happened to be the one that had Chat GPT open and was typing in the instructions, and we were adding instructions, testing and failing, and fine-tuning instructions and failing and adding more until we really got it to a workable prototype by the end of the meeting. So just to be clear that everyone was there kind of adding ideas and helping fine tune it as we were creating that prototype that Matt and Sonia took and used for their testing. Yeah, it was really fun meeting, right?
It was.
It was.
And
Yeah,
Kate, I think you're
that's
up
me now. Yeah.
next to talk about some
So,
specific examples. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody, because this was a great group effort, and we're super excited to share it with everybody. And the fact that it is consistent, is it perfect? Absolutely not perfect. But I mean, part of the wow factor is you can put pretty complex images into this very easily. And based on the rules we put in and knowledge, when you create a GPT, you can upload knowledge, which holds it in like an area, a folder within the GPT that it references to make sure that it follows the rules and things like that. So in this is an example, and please excuse the ugly slide design. It's on purpose because there is alt text and long description text. Normally you don't put this much text on here, but and for example, Hertzberg's two-factor theory. I have no idea what that is, but there's also a lot of words on this. All right, so we have easily at the bottom, you can see it came up with a great alt text or alternative text, or image description text, whatever you want to call it for your needs. And then the long description, what's great is it pulls text from images, and it does it pretty effectively. Again, it's not perfect. As Sonia said, you need to double check your bullets, make sure they're all there. I sometimes look at Chatty G as a annoying sibling who will like hide the middle bullet. It'll put everything there. It looks 100% right, but maybe something's missing. It's pretty good at spelling, which is ironic because in imagery, it's not good at spelling, but in extracting content, it's actually pretty good at spelling. So anyway, this is really helpful because you can obviously look at the long description and get more information, but you can repurpose this information. Maybe you want to update the design. Maybe you want to create a different type of content, chunk out of it. It just gives you a lot of options by not having to retype all of that. So what an added benefit. And it will extract text outside of the GPT. You can do that in just ChatGPT or any AI. But within our the one that we created, everyone has the option to have it automatically extracted. And so these are two things to start from. Like everyone said, double check what's on the page and double check the content to make sure it matches properly and it follows most of the rules. But it's a great start, and it would have taken a lot longer to type both of these items. Next slide, please. And it's pretty good at map reading. I mean, this obviously is, I identify a full piece of continent here or a country here, but it's very good at like identifying the colors, which I know is not necessary in accessibility, but it's still pretty interesting to see that it could identify colors on here. It just shows the power of whatever AI is using to kind of read an image, if you will. It also provides a lot of information that gives interpretation of the map that is being provided here. Now, as Sonia said, colors are not important. So while it did say dark blue is 18% or more in poverty, really this would need to be corrected. Or you could even ask ChatGPT to say, could you, instead of using colors, identify the states that fall into these categories? So they should be listed. But for the most part, this is a great, again, alternative to trying to figure it out yourself. And the last one, which I actually am pretty amazed at.
Hey,
Next
when I
slide.
was an instructional designer on that image beforehand with the US on it as an ID, I would cringe when I would see something like that, thinking about having to do the alt text for it. And now, ChatGPT does it so beautifully.
It's clean and it's concise, and yeah, it needs a little bit of work, but obviously this is just leaps and bounds of your time has gotten back. Um, and this one, I find this one really amazing because it's a cartoon, and and it's handwritten, and still, the artificial intelligence is able to identify what the idea of the cartoon is, that this is the Earth, with a thermometer looking quote unquote sick. Aliens are in a spaceship. And even with the long description, if you see, I can barely read the upper left-hand corner, but it has identified it correctly as, the creator, where it was published, the year it was published, which I find really interesting. Now, again, if you read the long description, it says two green aliens. The green is an unnecessary word. And so there are things like that to keep an eye out. But some of the fun of this tool is just seeing how it describes an image that you put into it. And we're going to show you how that works actually. Um, Next slide. I think we go over to Linus now.
All right, thank you, Kate.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. So
All right, let me share the custom GPT now. All right. So first of all, I would like to mention that this custom GPT is now available to all of you, and you can start using it. We will post a link to the chat. I believe unpaid accounts can interact with it 5 times per day, and you can interact unlimited times with the paid accounts now. Okay. Can you see this custom GPT now?
Mhm.
Yep, perfect. All right. So, so this is the custom GPT we built with the help of Sonia and Matt. And as you can see, we have this conversation starter. This just kicks off the conversation with the chatbot. Everything else is built into the instructions, and the rules are built into the custom GPT. So we don't see that. So we begin by selecting the conversation starter. This is just the initial prompt. So it's searching the knowledge, and it tells me that it can create these things for me. It can provide alt text, long description, and text transcription. And it asks for the image. So I thought I would start with a rather simple image from one of my special education courses that has displays sensory toys. And let's see if ChatGPT can pick up that. So can it pick up the context in the images? So here's the image, and you can see the sensory toys in here. So let's run it and see what we get.
Sometimes you never know what you're going to get with ChatGPT.
It's
Yeah, we should
true.
play some music.
Because
It would be
sometimes
nice if we had some music.
sometimes it gets into a mood.
So as you can see, all text, the short description, it says the child is playing with sensory toys. Voila, perfect. It's water beads, modeling clay, and liquid motion bubblers. Pretty cool. It knows everything. So long description describes all the details in the image. And just looking at it, it seems pretty accurate. I would definitely read all of this multiple times and make sure that it is accurate. None of us want to end up like that faculty member who failed to review all the content generated with these tools and got in trouble because a student filed a complaint against them. So there was no text, so it doesn't provide any text. Okay, let's try another one. So this image has idioms built into it. And so this is again for a special ed course. And it has text. and it demonstrates what that text may mean. So let's run this image and see what we get. So as you can see, it describes, the alt text describes that there are 4 idioms, and I think they're pretty accurate actually. So it pulled out the text. Here's the long description, and it describes what's in the actual image. All of these seem to look really good. And at the end, it actually extracts the text transcription if you need it. All right, let's try a more complex one. So this is a bar chart. So educational attainment worldwide in 2020 by gender and level. So primary education, secondary, and post-secondary. Let's run this and we see what we get. So it looks like it has the correct alt text. It pulled out all the percentages, and they do look correct to me. It explains how it was represented with vertical bars and so on. And it also creates a data table, which could be very useful as well. So this is essentially how you work with this custom GPT. And you can keep feeding it images, but we cannot stress enough. Make sure to review everything that it puts out. And I think now Matt is going to show you some more complex images that he has worked on.
Yeah, I can show one or two more. This is from the course we were referencing earlier. So here is sort of an infographic table showing business case for diversity and executive teams and financial performance, breaking down these two categories, women representation, ethnic diversity representation, and then showing percentages for financial performance over different years in a number of companies. So this is a pretty complex visualization of this data. And then at the bottom, it has all this information about, where it got those numbers from. So it gives you the very simple alt text. And then what I like about this one is for the long description, it gave sort of a general overview of what this infographic is depicting, and then it tells you the structure of it, and then breaks down the data from there in a table. So that's what I was talking about earlier. It's sort of, if you are just looking at an image like this and have no idea how to approach it, even if you don't want to copy this text verbatim, it may give you some ideas of how you may break that information down in a way that someone who can't see the image can sort of parse as they're hearing it. So you're not just overloading them with information. So yeah, the table is really nice here too. And then it gives you the full text transcription. So this is more useful if it's an infographic that has like a lot of paragraphs of text. But it may be useful here too if you want the exact text. And then it also pulled out all that footnote text too. So if for whatever reason you do need to include that, you can, after checking it, you can copy and paste it from here so you don't have to hand type that. Just one more I'll show. This is sort of a flow chart with these lists of information and arrows showing how they connect to each other. So again, it gives you this general overview of what the diagram is. It's showing these processes and how they interact with each other, and then it breaks down each of those processes and the list of information in each one. It's also a really nice thing where it puts things into bulleted lists and not just like a big paragraph of information. And then it also points out how those arrows point to the other categories there. Um, so yeah, those are just a couple examples of other types of images where, again, check these occasionally, especially in long lists like this. For some reason, it'll just, skip one, it'll miss it. But this will save you a lot of time, so you don't have to hand type this sort of stuff yourself.
That should be it, right? We're just up for questions now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'd also mention I put a bunch of links in the chat of different like LinkedIn Learning. You can learn how to use custom GPTs and some other resources that our group has collected. So those are in there.
Yeah, one thing to know, if you have a paid version of ChatGPT, shared GPTs or published GPTs can be used in an unlimited way. But if you're using the free version of ChatGPT, you get 5 uses per day, per login, I guess, or whatever. You might have more than one free account. Who's the judge? But so you'll get up to 5 a day. So you can parse out your usage, but it is available to everyone, even if you don't have a paid account. Let's see, is there any other questions in here we need to?
And if there's anybody out there that is using a ChatGPT or Copilot or any of the other AI tools out there, we'd always love to hear what you're doing with it. And because as we said, we've really gotten excited about using AI. And if we go to a conference, we look at the list to see what titles have AI in them and try to learn as much as we can about it. But it has really recharged us.
And while we're instructional designers, having people come to us with questions or ideas really spur our thoughts, and how do we make everyone's life easier? How does people think about what would make their life easier? And as most people, we learn better by having a real project to work on. This we've had so many successful ones. I know one of the ones we played around with, Lisa, you were the star of that show, which was creating a scenario. So adding information about a course and some characters in, and being able to use the same basis throughout the entire course for continuity and complex negotiations, if I'm not correct. If you want to expand upon that, you can.
There are a few questions in the chat. This will also work with PDFs, correct? The image, if the
I,
image is in a PDF, it will still work.
I believe so, but Sonia, Matt, I think you're the expert on that, actually.
I personally wouldn't make any definitive statements about what it can do with PDFs, but I know that's sort of a whole other area people are looking into. Um, I would just put the whatever the image is, I would put the image directly into the chatbot. I would not try to do it through a PDF. Personally, I feel like that may overcomplicate things.
Yeah, I haven't tried a PDF. I would just screenshot the portion of a document or page I wanted described.
Yeah, there was also a questioning about licensing agreements. What are PSU licensing agreements for ChatGPT? Um, Within our team, we're paying for our own licenses.
Yeah, initially we had individual licenses that we paid for, but then we created this, what it's called, Team Workspace. And the good part about this is that now we can actually share the custom GPTs and copy the instructions, make copies, so on and so on. So it has more features than just individual accounts.
Looks like Heidi mentioned ChatGPT can see images in PDF format.
Oh.
Not sure if that would work with the GPT, but it looks like ChatGPT has the ability.
I would say if you try it, let us know how it turns out.
And to answer Michael's question a little bit more, I posted the AI guidelines in there, but I think it was Penny that said they're paying for their own licenses. I know a few folks in TLT have licenses provided by TLT. There are other folks across Penn State that have personal accounts, and others Penn State has paid for, but there is no overall Penn State license to provide paid accounts to Penn State faculty, staff, or students. There is Copilots, Microsoft Copilot accounts available to Penn State faculty, staff, and students for licensing there.
I think it's also worth mentioning too, the Teams account that Linus mentioned.
Mhm.
That that is not training the model, right? So a personal paid account would likely be training the model, where the Teams account doesn't. That was important to us.
Yeah, and all the information, all the data within the account stays within it. It's nothing's shared. This is our data.
Yeah, I believe OpenAI also has a Chat GPT for education, which would be similar to the Copilot agreement, but I'm not sure. I have heard no talks of Penn State looking into that, but that could be an equivalent to the Copilot version if Penn State would ever do that. But if there are no further questions, we have about 12 minutes left. I'm going to move on. I have a few short announcements and a few closing items to close with, but I want to thank the World Campus team for a wonderful presentation. I know I found it truly interesting and very um, timely with the new higher ed accessibility standards, which are quickly approaching. I think, I don't want to speak wrongly, but I think April 2026 is the deadline for higher ed or our institution, something close to that. But if you have more questions for this team, please post them here in chat. Or you can reach out to them directly, continue the conversation in Microsoft Teams. Yep, Sonia confirmed that is April 2026, so less than a year away. So these GPTs could be very valuable tools for the Penn State community. But I'm going to share my screen. I have a few short slides that I want to close out with today. And if anybody has further questions, please continue dropping them in Zoom chat and we can continue hitting them here. Okay, so boom. So real quick announcements. There is a new course available for the Penn State community, an introduction to Copilot that was developed by ITLD. It is available in the LRN. If I can find the chat window here, I'm going to drop the link to it. Boom. So that is a quick course that you can share with faculty, that they can share with students if they're looking to use Copilots in the next year here. That was recently launched and available now. So moving on to summer plans for AI Horizons. So we are going to take June off. There will be no programming in June, but starting in July, we are going to launch Summer School But Cooler. So this is going to be very light programming. It will start July 14th, and we will release one blog post each week for 5 weeks in a row. And these will feature Penn State's own Dr. Stuart Selbers. He has an AI manifesto around 5 tenets that relate to technical communications. So we are going to, as a community, read one of these tenets each week. There will be 3 levels of assignments. A light assignment, a reflective assignment, and a create assignment. Nothing is mandatory. So each level will be presented. You're welcome to just read, just provide thoughts, complete all the assignments, or complete none of the assignments. But this is a way to keep the community engaged in exploring AI throughout the summer while also keeping it low key with no synchronous meetings. Now, approaching the fall semester, we will be culminating this summer series with a live session with Stuart himself, tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, 8/26. When we confirm that, we will send out a calendar invite. But Stuart will be joining us synchronously to discuss these tenets or just talk about what this community discussed over the summer. So we will be utilizing Padlet and Teams. All the content will be curated. and should be accessible starting July 14th. Okay, so I will double check that link. It looks like I'm getting some messages saying that link is not accessible. So I am sorry. Okay, so I will double check that link and resend it out. I just checked it yesterday, so it should have worked, but maybe I copied the URL wrong, which I do often. Okay, so for the last 8 or so minutes here, I want to do a reflection of the last semester of teaching with AI or just using AI here at Penn State. So we still have almost 90 people here. So this is a chance for you to share. If you've never shared at AI Horizons with a full presentation and you have a thought or an idea, here are some questions to consider. I'm really interested in question 2 and 3. And this is open to anybody. So if you would like to share about a minute or two, I know we only have 7 minutes now. So if you want to answer one of those questions, all of those questions, or if you have anything, doesn't even have to answer those questions. I just wanted to open it up to the community to share any reflections you may have. Would anybody like to kick things off?
I have one thing I'd like to share real
Awesome.
quickly. Number two, initially I started using AI in the fall semester just a little bit for students brainstorming in CAS 100. And I was a little concerned that they wouldn't use their noggin quite as much as I want them to.
Hmm.
So I've only dabbled a little bit. This semester, I actually had them do a final speech when we were kind of crunched for time and allowed them to use Copilot. And they put in their topic, explained that they did not want to cite sources. They were just looking for a general scripted outline of a speech with topics related to what they were speaking about. And they had to share with me their prompts and all the output and then their final script for their speech. And I was very concerned that students would use exactly what was spit out by Copilot. And what it did was just give them multiple options of avenues they could take to discussing their speech, to curtailing it more towards the audience they were speaking to. And it did a very beautiful job. And it also allowed them to do further research on those individual subtopics and supportive information and put their own citations in. So it felt like a very efficient way to have them focus on delivery and dynamics of their speaking and their expressions, their body movements, and take away that structure of developing the entire speech contents themselves and the direction it went. So for me, it opened up my mind a little that it wasn't quite so evil that I was, thinking it could be in my classroom.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Robin. We have Erica in the chat said she loved hearing this. So thank you for sharing that snippet there. 5 minutes left. Would anyone else like to share or answer any of these questions?
Zach, I'll go ahead and share. In my class, which is a senior level seminar, students have several case studies that they have to write. And the past couple of semesters, I've gone from allowing them to use AI to actually this semester, I required them to use AI for one of their case studies because I wasn't getting enough take up, and I wanted them to both understand what it could do well and maybe what it could not do well. And I think I think the experience from students is that they got a better understanding of how they might use this in their own work, and hopefully will find some ways to do it. I also had one student that used it but didn't credit it. I require them to kind of turn in what they the conversation they had with the AI tool that they choose to use. And so I had a good conversation with that student about why we give credit when we use other resources and why it's important to do that and how this might lead to some bad consequences in the future if they don't use it appropriately. So I mean, I think there were both good and bad things. Since I also do AI for my college, I get to see lots of different perspectives from faculty on AI, from still those who ban Grammarly. I don't know how you do that. We've had that conversation. to others who are really finding some creative ways to engage with students using AI.
Awesome. Thanks, Dennis, for sharing. I love the shift from not allowing AI to requiring them to use AI and then leaning into sort of teaching them responsibility and how to like cite it. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Zach, I have
Yeah.
one interesting example. I'll be quick. I have my eye on the time. This is Janet from the Smale College of Business.
Awesome.
We teach a global immersion course, and we had a student who took fabulous notes, loved the experience in Istanbul, did amazing. They were to apply a particular change model and do a presentation on the outcome. And he did and uploaded the notes into Notebook LM, came out with a beautifully done podcast. But he was not, of course, involved in the podcast at all. It was all voice generated. So although it was very creative and the outcome was fabulous, presence and presentation and delivery of the student are important in these presentations, particularly when we're doing it virtually. So he did nothing wrong because I didn't point out that you cannot use, at least in the course that I'm teaching with a rubric, you can't use voice generated aspects of AI to develop the final outcome. So all good intention, but we needed to clarify integrating some verbiage now within the course on a way that you can't use it, although it was ended up to be really cool.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Janet. Okay, I just posted a new link for that Copilot LRN course. If anybody could check to see if that one works. Looks like Chris Millay posted a survey. Sherry Rice, it didn't work. Okay. Well, let me just. This is the last one I'm going to try. See if this is. Oh, no, that's not going to work. If I find a link that works, I will post it in Microsoft Teams. I tried copying it right from Outlook and it had that long Outlook safe email thing, which did not work. So, all right, maybe this one. Okay, so it is 11. I'm going to stop share here. If there are no further questions, we're going to conclude today's AI Horizons. It looks like we have a lot of great chatter happening in the last couple of minutes here. So I do encourage you to continue those questions, that conversation, move it over to the team space. Like I said, nothing is happening in June, so continue bouncing ideas off everyone, and we will be back in July with summer school, but cooler. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.